Hi, I'm Nag, and in this video, I'll be dissecting what used to be my favorite anime tower defense. Given that my channel is dedicated to this very genre, and I've invested thousands of hours playing nearly every single possible game that the platform has to offer, to say a game is my favorite means I think it is or was the best offering of the genre. But unfortunately, the game is now, for all intents and purposes, dead. So for the first half of this video, I'll be explaining why Anime World Tower Defense is, or used to be, in my opinion, the best anime tower defense. Essentially, I'll be glazing what made it different from its competition. And on the second half, I'll be discussing its unfortunate current state, even though it could have been, in my opinion, the top dog of its own niche. Over time, we've had many games that have stopped updating for a reason or another, most of which were people's lack of interest on the game, which caused it to, stop having any funds, so they couldn't keep updating. AWTD might be the first anime tower defense that was well beloved, people actually wanted to see succeed, and still, against everyone's wishes, has given up. I'm saying that they have given up. If you look at the screen right now, you can tell in the HUD, the latest update was Halloween 2025. The funny thing is, this update wasn't even on Halloween. It released on the 11th of January 2026. It was the Halloween update of 2025. This update was their latest update, and the next update is supposed to be Christmas 2025. Yes, it is currently, if I look at my clock here, April of 2026, and their next update is supposed to be Christmas. The hilarious thing is, they're probably going to take still well over a month to drop that update. Soon enough, it's going to be closer to Halloween 2026 than Halloween 2025, and there's still going to be this banner on the game. Brilliant. I'm making this video because recently I made an April Fool's video where I tried out Anime Adventures for the first time as a brand new game and how much potential it has. And obviously it was really fun. Everyone thought it was a good laugh. And it's a complete contrast because I think everyone is better off with Anime Adventures having been gone, because that game was genuinely garbage. I'm not gonna get into it, but for several reasons it was genuinely garbage compared to what we have now. But AWTD, compared to what we have now, I would still say is a great game that had every chance to be the best. Bold claim, I know, but it had not only momentum, which I'm giving myself credit for, by the way. Obviously, the game had to be good to begin with, but my videos were doing well on the game. And even when it didn't do well, I still kept making them because I wanted to see the game succeed. I have no stake in this game. I don't own this game. But I thought it was the best game out there. And it had momentum. Every update they were releasing had more and more players. Even after AV's dominant release, they were still growing. And even after AA's dominant return, they were still growing. And even after ASTD Access dominant release, they were still kicking it. And now that we don't even have a dominant force in the market, these guys gave up. What is this? So I'm going to tell you why this game was my favorite anime tower defense and why I think it could have been the #1 tower defense if they actually locked in. Number one, this is the only game that has team leader skills, and making actual leader skill based teams and category based teams works, and it makes the game so much better. The game is old. It has had visual changes that have made the games significantly better looking, which goes to show ASTD could have done the same. They had a much bigger budget in this game, but they chose not to. Either way, the only bad visual update AWTD has ever done is change the UI and make it absolute garbage, but they were the first to make that sin, and then AV followed up right after. But even AV's is better. This is not the part where I make the bad stuff. Let me talk about the good stuff. The game has so many characters. I mean, there's so many characters. So what they did since the beginning of the game, this is a thing since the beginning of the game. It was meant to be like Dokkan Battle, where you have your characters have passives, by the way, most of them. They had their manual abilities, which usually did a lot. But most importantly, they had leader skills. Where is this leader skill? Right here. Master technique category 120 and SPA -10. So you'd go in the category, master technique, and you make a team with Ichigo as the leader. Well, there's probably better for that category at this point, but you get the point. And that kept the game from doing what AV right now has an issue of, where every new update, not just AV, but I'm using it as an example because it's the biggest game, they make the new best units, right? Every single new update, there's new best characters, which dwarf the power of the previous characters. Whatever that team of that character is, that's the only team you're gonna run. Because, I mean, why would you run something else? But not in this game. Not in this game. Even if the brand new character, which I even know, who's in the characters? Is this supposed to be Amon from Tokyo Ghoul? Or no, this is the other guy. Whatever the case is, pretend Hiei here is the bastion in the game. You're still gonna run him, of course, whatever team he's going on. But because elements matter, you might not want to run him on every single stage, and most stages actually have categories that do more damage on that stage. So in a way, no matter what, even if they make broken characters, there's still a reason for you to use your older characters. And older characters are always constantly evolving. For example, hello? Hello? I can't move. If only they still updated, I would say King fixed this, but I have to wait for Christmas 2026 for that. Either way, with every single new update, there will be new activities that didn't require you to use a specific team, but it was suggested. Okay, this, let's say, this raid right here, Savior of the Earth, suggested you run it, and there's also an element on top of the category damage increase. So a Savior of the Earth unit that is blue, because the element of the enemies is red, is going to be extremely powerful on this stage. So even if a character, let's go, that stage, by the way, that doesn't work because it's a very specific stage, but just making the example. Savior of the Earth category, water character. Wukong over here, which is a character that released quite a while ago, all of a sudden, extremely good for the new stage, even without needing an evolution or a buff. Right? But either way, they are constantly evolving. You can't open menus? Oh, it's because I opened the warp thing again. Yeah, see, I mean, oh, I freed myself. Anyways, they're constantly evolving characters to make them go back to keeping up on the meta instead of releasing new versions of them, which matters a lot because there are traits in this game. Until the anniversary update, there were no traits, and it was a bit of a controversial addition, but I think they are the game that did traits the best. The traits in this game are fully farmable way before any game really made them extremely accessible. If you remember, again, when AV came out, super pay to win, right? That was most of the reason why people were skeptical about traits in the first place. But not only they made traits super accessible, getting a rainbow trait in this game is way higher of a chance than any other game. 0.5 for the best possible trait, or 0.33 if it's a DOT character, because DOT characters have different traits. Way higher chance. You get traits for free. You don't need to buy them at all. And there was even an argument to be made that the honored one, the possible best trait, is not even the best trait for every character because it increases the cost of your character. So even without a rainbow trait, characters can still operate at almost full capacity. The rainbow trait is just a little addition. As the game kept releasing new updates, they released characters that were made specifically for the honored one, but that's a different discussion. I'll actually be adding that to what killed the game. So as I said, leader skills, no other game has that. Genuinely, no other game has that. Like ALS had the godly, but it's like it's a garbage version of what AWTD has, where you have like Aizen, for example. He leads also Master Technique. Okay, terrible example. Escanor leads a very specific category, Bright Burning Warrior. But if you want to run Escanor, whatever, you're going to run that team, right? Or whatever team he's on. You need to think about the characters you're going to bring on the stage. And if you don't have a specific character, you go ahead and you get that character. It's not really that big of a deal most of the time. Although some characters are an extreme grind, and you really do feel like you want to do that grind because the character is worth it. Elements actually matter. I don't think any game has made elements matter as much as this game, or maybe ALS, although ALS's reason why elements matter was more of a, we're just gonna make the stage a specific element at random. And at some point, elements stopped matter in ALS. So this isn't a point that matters these days, but the game was actually free to play friendly, like I said before. Which at the time, you know, when I was making videos in this game, actually mattered because AV was not. ALS was also free-to-play friendly. But while ALS was like, okay, it is free-to-play friendly, but you know, the updates are slop, has always been really. It made sense for the game to be free-to-play because the characters you get are going to get replaced so soon, right? In this game, the characters don't, like I said, don't get replaced so fast. Some characters, unfortunately, never saw the light of day because they just ended up not being that good when, you know, they could have been good for a specific niche. Actually, Gogeta, which I just opened. This character in theory could have been really, really good because it's good for a specific niche, but that niche never happened. The units in this game truly feel desirable, unlike other games. It ties back in to categories. When you have a character that leads a category, that character is important, not just because it's good, but because it allows you to run a specific team. So you want to get that character. Also, characters stay relevant for super, super long. And that's not because the updates never come out. It's because of just how the game established that. In AV right now, how long do units stay relevant? One update? Sometimes two? Like that's how it is. There are very specific characters in AV that have lasted a good while, like Escanor, because they kept being updated. If Escanor had never gotten the bumps of power that he did, like the Doctor familiar was made for him. Simply put, it was made for him. And you can even argue some of the Memorias were also made to help him. But that's because I feel like they really wanted Escanor to, in specific, to be relevant for a long time. But I'm thinking like the One Piece update, which wasn't even that long ago, in terms of number of updates. The only character I would even say is relevant though is Shanks, because at the time he was arguably the best unit in the game. I think the oldest good character in Anime Vanguards right now is Broly, and that's not even because of him, it's because of Alucard. Because he buffs Alucard. That's mostly in terms of DPS though. Obviously support characters can be different, but you get my point, right? In the AWTD, man, characters fall off, but it's not because they fell off in power most of the time. It's just because they can't be used right now. And then they probably will get an evolution, which will make them good again. This is not just Anime Vanguards is such a bad game, right? But I'm just putting an example out there. And I am saying that I like AWTD more than AV. When AWTD actually updated and it was good. I never hit this. I always said AWTD was my favorite tower defense and I'm gonna be biased. Oh, I just put this in as well. They did characters way ahead of other games, meaning that like look at my inventory right here. My characters on my team are Toru from Part 8 JoJo, Manga, Sukuna, and Gojo. And Manga, Sukuna, and Gojo were released like over a year ago. The only game that has done these guys, Manga, Sukuna, and Gojo, in terms of tower defenses, I think was ALS. And the only reason why is because they release so many updates and they kind of have to keep on, you know, releasing whatever they can. Like, okay, we need to release a JK update. What can we still release? You know what I mean? Well, WCD, I don't know, it felt more deliberate. They were like, okay, we want to make an update. They're still in the lobby. Yeah. Was it over a year ago? Wait, let me check my video. 10 months ago. Almost a year ago. Like, they made a whole lobby event for them where you have to talk to them and then, you know, you have to basically play as Gojo, where you go ahead and like you try to fight Sukuna. You know, it's not like, oh, we gotta release a JJK update. What is there still left? We haven't done Yuta from the end of the manga yet. Put him on. They had unit passives all the way back when. They didn't call them passives yet. We pick an old character, Hashirama. This is a passive. A lot of characters had very minor passives. This unit deals 50% more damage against enemies for each debuff they are affected by. Now, what they did with these passives was they basically treated them as debuffs, even though obviously this is not a debuff, right? And they added those to other characters and started tackling on, well, like Gappy, for example, he does a debuff, Explode. And that debuff, they might make a character that has Explode and whatever Hashirama had, I forgot the name. It's way simpler, obviously, but they made up for it by making the abilities have more complexity. I guess I can go on the stage. I think the game doesn't work. That's cool. That's cool. Okay, I tried resetting my game and going to a stage again. I literally can't go in the stage. Are you kidding me? Does the game not work? There's no way the game doesn't work. People are going to stages. I guess private servers just don't work. You have to be joking. So Gojo has strongest. Every time he attacks, he raises the attack, and he has a 50% chance to do triple damage. That's a passive. Just because it doesn't have this length, and then it has a transformation, which also has this length, doesn't mean it's not passive. This is still a top tier character in the game because there was never a need to just shove a ton of words into a passive to the point where you need ChatGPT to make a summary of it for you. Now, if you upgrade him, he gets the Void Domain, which time stop all enemies. Again, this guy is a meta character. Also, when you upgrade him, he gets a little bit more passives, which again, very simple passives. Resist, he gains more attack. They did something with the text that made it like incomprehensible. It's after 150 seconds. That's what this means. After 150 what? After 150 seconds. That's what it used to say, but it's whoever this game. Increase, it used to be. This typo was not here. I swear it was not. No, I'm going on my video. No, this typo was not here. It was. It was there, but the seconds were here. Oh yeah, this is how the UI used to look like. They just wanted really badly to look like some MiHoYo game, which is exactly what Anime Vanguard is doing right now. I hate MiHoYo. All they did was destroyed my gacha games. Now every gacha game has to have super realistic 3D graphics and update once every 2 months. And the whole update is, look, some story. Where was I? Passives were a thing, and they never stopped being simple. Why did passives ever have to become not simple? Having passives take so long to read that you forget what they do after a couple of days is not good game design. It's not smarter because you have to work harder. It's just stupid. Also, I opened AV there because, you know, that Ichigo passive is just outrageous. But obviously the king is ALS. ALS with the ChatGPT passives. You don't have to do all that to make an OP character. You really don't. And honestly, AWTD didn't have nearly as much budget as AV, obviously. The models still look damn good enough. Look at our animations. Look at this. Does it... It's like, it has charm as well because of the camera angles and stuff, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't have to look any better than this. Now let's detach all my biases off the video and start talking about what killed the game. I mean, the most obvious ones that they stopped updating, but I'm gonna add some more. This game is hard to get into relative to other games. While in the AV, you start the game and there's a seasonal activity that you can go in that doesn't require any characters. And there's also like a guaranteed character you get that is relatively good. Zoro. Actually pretty good. Especially when I started playing AWTD, it was incredibly difficult to get into. It was like, honestly, if I didn't have a random player that I found in my lobby help me beat stages with me, I would have given up on the game on the spot. Now they did updates over time, of which I indirectly helped with, giving some ideas here and there. One of which being, I can't see right here because I don't have it anymore, the starter banner, which was cheap and gave some like really good characters that don't need to be worked on but can help you throughout the game. Unfortunately, I can't see it anymore in the game because I've already summoned on that banner. But yeah, if you start AWTD right now, which don't, I mean, the game is dead. The starter banner gives you characters that aren't OP, but for, you know, how little work you have to do for them, you just have to summon on the banner. They don't even evolve, I don't think. They're damn good. And they will beat, like, the stages you need to beat to get the OP characters to then do the other stages, you know what I mean? But still, very difficult to understand what you have to do and how. So there's a big barrier there that could have been helped in many ways, but they couldn't even make updates, so I think they just didn't even they didn't even have the capability to help. Obviously the biggest factor is a lack of updates, but because the game was decently hard to get into, that did mean the game could never be as mainstream as Anime Vanguards, because Anime Vanguards used to be a simpler game before they made Ichigo level passives. So if you go on their announcements, again, 16th of January, they made the announcement that the next update is Christmas 2025. It was already January when they made the announcement the next update would be Christmas. And guess what? It's April. Now, I've heard some words that they actually have canned this update and it will not even happen and it will be something else. But I don't know how true it is, and the announcement is still this. There's not been any other announcements since January. The previous update, it was 31st of December. Oh, sorry, this was the announcement of the update. The actual update, maintenance started on the 3rd and ended on the 11th. It was over a week of maintenance. The update released on the 11th of January, the Halloween of 2025 update. And before that, it was the anniversary update on the 26th of October. I actually made a video on this update. And before that, it was the summer update of 2025, which was in October, which again, after summer had already ended. Whatever, it wasn't even that after summer, so it wasn't too bad. But if you notice, very infrequent updates, of which none are really focused. All of these updates are what I would call the 0.5 updates. Summer, you pick some random characters in there that people might like. For example, summer they actually picked Roger, and Whitebeard. Really, really cool characters. But you know what would have been way, way better? If this was a One Piece update. You call summer updates, Halloween updates, Christmas updates, your filler updates, that you release characters that aren't main staples of a given series as like a fun little event, you know? But instead, AWTD was just only releasing these updates, except Anniversary, which again is another assortment of random characters. There was no JJK update, or I don't know, Demon Slayer update, or Fire Force update. No, it was assortment of random characters, assortment of random characters, assortment of random characters, and the next one, again, if this one isn't canned, assortment of random characters. And for all these updates, at least the ones that I showed, I'm pretty sure, other than the god-awful UI change, there were no real good quality of life updates that helped keep up with the times. For example, this Anniversary update, even though it was how to be huge, all it did was the god-awful UI change. The previous Anniversary update took forever and had a lot of bugs because they actually completely changed how the game works in terms of menus. They changed the lobby to not have those like rooms anymore where you go into in every tower defense, and instead you have the menu which you create a room wherever you are. At the time, really, really cool. What I would say is on that Anniversary, they released a raid, or it was a legend stage, Paradox Invasion, which was so hard. It was, and every character on the update required you to do it, by the way. It was like several characters, all of them had a material from here. You had to be carried if you weren't like already quite the end game player. But this game doesn't have matchmaking, which is fine. At the time, oh, private servers just don't work. How does this even happen? At the time, it was fine. No game had matchmaking, right? By the time the new Anniversary came around, AA had already been come back with matchmaking. AV was the last game to release matchmaking. I don't know why, but even though they have probably the biggest of all budgets. ASTDX was already released, obviously, and it had matchmaking. Every new game has matchmaking. And this game, out of all games, is the game that needs matchmaking the most because new players could really use being carried. Like I said, the game is hard to get into, and if you are the owner of this game, you would think you'd try your best to allow a easier onboarding, but no, instead we're making a Christmas 2025. My last point I have on why this game failed might be a little more personal. It's much more subjective, but given the schedule of updates and the title of these updates, I think Starkey over here, the owner, genuinely is either extremely stubborn, and if he sets his eye that the next update is going to be Christmas 2025, it will goddamn be Christmas 2025. I don't care how bad it looks. Or he just doesn't care, which I don't know which one's worse. They have had the schedule of these like celebration updates like summer, winter or Christmas, Halloween for years now, and I think he just really wanted to keep them up because he's stubborn, regardless of how bad it looks. Or he genuinely doesn't understand why it looks so bad. It's either or. But just like every AWTD video I've ever made, Troko's gonna hate editing this one because it's super long for no reason. But this was my favorite anime tower defense game. Anytime anyone asks me, that's what I'll say, AWTD. And it's genuinely very sad that they gave up. Especially right now when the market is genuinely asking for something good. Like, I'm sorry, AV is our best option, and I think they are also just kind of tugging along. There's no competition. If they are already number one and there's no number two, why even try, right? That's what I think.